isn't my usual video. Usually I try to sit and give a word, but today we got stuff to do. So we're gonna cut an onion while we're doing this. And actually it works out nicely for the word that God has, which is to embrace the messy middle, to embrace the beauty of the season of transition and the beauty of the messy middle. Last year, I was driving out to my daughter's school, and we have these beautiful trees here that are eastern red buds, and they have this gorgeous purple color in the fall, or in the spring rather, and then they begin to transition, and they go from that purple to this yellow on the top. And while they're transitioning, the bottom still has purple and the top has yellow. And they're stunning. They're just stunning. It's really gorgeous to see. And right now they're all purple, but in a couple weeks they're gonna be purple and yellow. And last year while I was driving out to my daughter's school, I just stopped and looked at these trees, and I said to the Lord, they're stunning, they're just gorgeous. And he said back to me, this is how I see you in the middle. This is what I see when you're in the middle between the word that I spoke to you, that vision I gave you, that promise I gave you, the word that you read in my Bible that I spoke to you, and you know that a promise was dropped into your heart. You just know. But you're not holding it. You don't have it and you're not possessing it yet. Because there's a period between, there's a transition time between the word spoken and the promise given. And we don't see it as beautiful. In fact, to be perfectly honest with you, I think the transition is my least favorite of all the walk with God, because it's hard. And it's hard sometimes to possess the promise. Actually, I would say most often it's hard to possess the promise, but you're holding on to it. And it's wonderful to receive it. When you receive that word from God, you have something. But that time between, as time goes on, it's hard. It is just excruciatingly difficult at times. And I think that we tend to see it as ugly. That time between is just such an ugly process. But God sees it as beautiful. And we tend to see it as ugly because it doesn't feel beautiful. There's a lot of tears, probably. There's a lot of angst and anger and frustration and anxiety and impatience. And so really what's going on is our flesh is really taking a front seat, and we get to see how bad our flesh is. That's what's happening in between, is our flesh is ugly. And it's gross. It's so gross. And we see that. But God sees this process in between as beautiful and sanctifying. And I think we hate the sanctification process, but he sees it as glorious and as a beautiful, wonderful fragrance to him. And so something I want to share with you that I wrote on my Instagram the other day is this, and it's that during the time between, we have to learn to hold fast to what God has spoken. Learn how to believe and contend for what he said. And our character is forged through this process of becoming as we wait. And this waiting process is where we find our messy middle. We aren't yet there in the promised land, holding the promise in our hands, but we've been changed through the vision God gave us. There's no going back to who we were before he spoke, and the middle between is often filled with bloody battles, tear-stained mornings, and sad evenings. And that's true. That is what the middle looks like. And it's the waiting between it isn't who we used to be, and it's not who we are going to be. And we're becoming this beautiful steward that will one day hold God's promises in our hand. And so it's disorienting, and it feels disorganized, and sometimes very insecure. There's a lot of insecurity in the process in between. And there's friends that are coming, and there's friends that are going, and there's probably some upheaval in family relationships, and it's just not easy. But I want you to hold on to this promise or this word, and it's that God sees it as beautiful. Like, he doesn't see you as a mess. And so I want you to think of it like this. When you get a vision to redo something in your house, say it's your master bedroom or a closet, maybe. When you get that vision in your head to redo it, you can't let go of it, right? You've got your room the way it is, but now you want it different. You just want it to be different. And so you start planning, and you start thinking about it, and pretty soon you start working on it, and you pick out colors, and you put up the tape, and you reorganize everything, or you take everything out of the room, and then you get started. And sometimes the starting process is the hardest part. Even just picking up a paintbrush can be excruciatingly difficult, or just pulling out one bin of clothes from your closet. It's hard. It's hard to start. But once you get started and you really begin to go, there's gonna be a time in between where you're like, wow, this is a mess. Like, what did I get myself into? It's not done. The project is not complete. And it takes perseverance and some effort on your part to finish it and to see it all the way through and to get it done. But when it's all done and it's messy between, you might get paint on the carpet, you might have so many different things that you've pulled out of your closet. Let's say it's just your closet that you're redoing. Sometimes there's a lot of emotions that come with that, right? Like, you might be holding on to some jeans that you should not have because they were 15 pounds ago and you're not there anymore. Or you're holding on to some things that your ex gave you, or you're holding on to some things that you wish you fit into but you don't anymore. And that's this process with God. That's this messy middle. We're holding on to stuff we can't hold on to anymore. We're holding on to things we gotta let go of. We want to hold on to some of them, and God's saying it's time to walk away. You gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. And so that's the in-between, and it feels difficult because it is difficult. But just like that eastern redbud tree, it's gorgeous. It is to the Lord a beautiful, uplifting fragrance. And so when you cry, God holds on to every tear. And when you pray, God hears it. And when you're angry, God meets you there. And when you're depressed, he holds you in his arms and he doesn't let go. And so in this middle process and time in your life, can you learn to enjoy the messy middle and say, yes, Lord, I'm in it with you. And I'm going to surrender to the process, however long that takes. And I'm going to learn to love it with you. Amen.